Exploring the great outdoors can be filled with excitement and surprises, especially for adventure enthusiasts. Planning for thrilling escapades requires careful preparation, and avid divers are always on the lookout for their next big adventure. Yuri Lipski probably had thoughts like these in mind when he set out for the Blue Hole, a renowned diving spot in the Red Sea with a depth of around 390 feet. Its calm surface hides a rather dark secret. Join us today on Fatal Tragedies with the story of Yuri Lipski. Enter the Blue Hole, one of the deadliest diving spots on the planet. A blue hole is like a natural underwater sinkhole. Back in the Ice Age, when sea levels were lower, caves and sinkholes formed on dry land. Then, rain and salty seawater did their thing, eroding the caves and creating these circular holes. The outer edges are made of rock that doesn't dissolve easily, forming a stable rim. The Great Blue Hole in Belize is a prime example. The edge is just 33 feet deep, but it plunges dramatically to 407 feet in a single drop. This depth difference creates a stunning color contrast, tropical blue on the edges and deep dark blue in the middle. Now here's the cool, albeit eerie part. The water circulation in these holes is often poor, especially in the deep zones. Some of them lack oxygen at the bottom, making them a bit like an alien world with minimal sea life. Despite these quirks, blue holes are popular diving spots. They usually lack strong currents, making them accessible and convenient. People are drawn to the mysterious allure, even if some spots have a bit of a sinister reputation. Now let's talk about the deadly reputation of a specific blue hole near Dahab. The thing is, it's not crystal clear why it's dubbed a diver's cemetery. No official records track the number of dives or fatalities, so it's hard to compare the danger level to other diving spots. The mystery around its danger seems to attract rather than deter divers. It's like a beautiful, deadly enigma that adventurous souls can't resist exploring. Right on the shore, there's a memorial for divers who lost their lives in the hole. Almost morbidly, potential divers check out these plaques before taking the plunge, hoping to avoid needing a recovery. The reality is that the recovered ones are just a small fraction of those down there. Due to the hole's size and depths, some people aren't found until much later, making recovery challenging due to decomposition. In a rather morbid twist, divers often capture videos during their blue hole dives. When reviewing these later, lost individuals' equipment occasionally surfaces, resting in the sand or rocks along the bottom. I know what you're asking yourself. What are the potential reasons for danger? The unique shape of the Dahab hole could be a factor. From the surface, the walls narrow like a funnel as you go deeper. At 170 feet, there's a large arch leading to an 85-foot tunnel that diagonally descends through the wall into the open ocean. From there are rapid drops reaching 2,600 feet. For these deep drops, only technical diving works as regular air becomes toxic. The rapid descent from the surface might make it easy for divers on regular air to go too deep without realizing it. Nitrogen narcosis becomes too intoxicating and they may pass out. Interestingly, it's not just divers on regular air who face tragedies there. Speaking of tragedies, this is Tarek Omar. Who is he? He's a professional technical diver and instructor, affectionately known as the Bone Collector and Gravekeeper. His unconventional titles are linked to his involvement in body recoveries at the infamous Blue Hole in the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt. The Blue Hole is a renowned dive site attracting both novice and expert divers. However, it holds a dark reputation as possibly the deadliest dive spot globally, with estimates of over 130 to 200 lives lost, though the exact number remains uncertain due to the lack of official records. Tarek has been a part of the majority, if not every single of the body recoveries since the late 90s. Despite the numerous cases, he's lost count of the incidents. The first two divers he recovered were Martin Gara and Connor O'Regan in 1997. Martin and Connor, experienced and meticulous divers, traveled from Ireland to Egypt for a year of diving adventures. Their passion for diving was evident as they planned to establish a travel agency specializing in overseas dive tours upon returning to Ireland. In November of that year, during a dive at the Blue Hole with the PADI Diving Organization group, Martin and Connor got separated from the rest. Alone and unintentionally descending too far for their gas mixture, they lost consciousness, their regulators fell out, and they sank to 213 feet. The group realized the situation only when the two failed to return on time. Despite a swift search, Martin and Connor were found too late, adding their names to the tragic stories of the Blue Hole. Similar to other renowned diving destinations, the Blue Hole in Dahab, Egypt is surrounded by local guides ready to assist adventurers. Normally, these guides offer gear rentals, allowing visitors to equip themselves adequately for their underwater exploration. Moreover, for added safety and guidance, adventurers have the option to hire these local guides who could lead them through the shallower sections of the Blue Hole, ensuring a secure and enjoyable sightseeing experience. But that's not what Yuri Lipski was after. On April 28, 2000, Yuri Lipski, a 22-year-old Russian diving instructor, set out on a journey into the Blue Hole. With a very profound understanding of the challenges posed by deep diving, he was thoroughly prepared for the descent toward the arch. During his final moments on land, witnesses observed that he was fully geared up for diving but lacked two critical elements: a diving buddy and a second oxygen tank. In outdoor activities like diving, having a companion is recommended due to the isolation and potential unreachability of immediate help, as unforeseen accidents can happen. Despite this recommendation, Yuri Lipski seemed to believe he could make the descent on his own. According to a local diving instructor and guide who had seen Yuri a year before his death, Lipski, like many others, expressed a strong desire to dive the Blue Hole, regardless of experience and certifications. This suggests a possible tendency towards recklessness and overestimation of his diving abilities. Yuri's father had reportedly made him promise not to engage in stupid things. Upon arriving in Dahab from Russia for a quick vacation, Yuri brought around 80 kilograms or 176 pounds of gear with him. Although he initially went to Tel Aviv to visit a local, he returned to Dahab expressing his intention to go diving because it was a beautiful, unique place in the world. Local accounts reveal that Yuri Lipski spent around 30 to 40 minutes wandering around, seeking an experienced diver to accompany him. Eventually, he found a different guide to go with him. However, Yuri's companion returned 15 to 20 minutes after they began the dive, but Yuri Lipski never made it back. It was strange, and no one knew where he was. There was a mystery about what had happened to him. So, what happened? Sadly, during Yuri's dive, he took a video of his final moments. But before we see what it contains, here's a spoiler. Despite what many people believe, Yuri Lipski didn't record his own death on video. Those are just spicy rumors. He only filmed the moments right before he died because the video stops before showing his actual passing. The footage kicks off with Yuri near the water's surface, surrounded by fellow divers, coral reefs, and fish in the bright blue and clear water. Taking a moment to fiddle with the camera, Yuri seems to attach a lens cover, perhaps to shield it from the anticipated pressure. After satisfying adjustments, his attention shifts to two divers ahead, their regulators creating a string of bubbles as they float, seemingly engaged in conversation. Yuri gets close enough to almost touch them before moving on, gazing into the distance where only dark water is visible, with bubbles indicating other divers at greater depths. Yuri starts moving toward those bubbles. Skipping ahead in the video, Yuri stops fiddling and starts his descent. Refocusing, he directs his gaze towards another diver below, possibly the local guide. The diver emits bubbles and Yuri swims past, looking up to the sunlit surface and then down to what appears to be the bottom, actually the inner wall of the hole, where the water is noticeably darker. Now, for this one, I'm going to do something that I don't typically do. I'm going to run the video without commentary, letting you listen to Yuri's breathing as he descends. Now and again, you'll catch a glimpse of the inner wall at the bottom of the frame, but notice how quickly the water turns really dark in just a few moments. Around the 5-minute mark, Yuri Lipski starts screaming. You can hear a beeping sound in the background, signaling trouble as Yuri's breaths become shallower and more rapid. He checks his dive computer for his depth, and it shows 81 meters or 265 feet. Regular air isn't recommended below 40 meters, and Yuri is nearly twice as deep. In the next moments, you'll witness him struggling along the bottom of some ledge, and it's uncertain how aware he is of what's happening. There's also the sound of him wrestling with his gear, possibly attempting to release the weight holding him down and float back to the surface, or dealing with convulsions or panic as he removes his regulator. The camera points downward, revealing the desolate ocean floor as Yuri desperately stirs up the sediment, fighting for his life. Abruptly, the video cuts off around the 7-minute mark, leaving a haunting silence. As 40 agonizing minutes crawl by with no sign of Yuri, the harsh truth sinks in. Yuri is never coming back. He's dead. The weight of the situation becomes palpable. His parents get the devastating news, and his dad comes to Dahab the next day, facing the tough reality. After pleading with the locals to recover Yuri from the depths, Tarek eventually volunteered for the daunting task of retrieval, marking the deepest recovery anyone had attempted at the time. Yuri was eventually discovered lying face down with excessive weight at a final depth of 91 meters. Tarek also observed that, in an attempt to increase buoyancy, Yuri's buoyancy control device had burst due to being overfilled. In the end, Yuri was brought back up, and all of his personal belongings, including the camera, were returned to his parents. At the time, Tarek assumed the camera, rated for a depth of 75 meters, had broken and no footage would have been captured. Unfortunately, as witnessed, it had recorded everything, and the footage was subsequently shown to Yuri's mother and father. Tarek has mentioned that had he known the camera was functional, he would have flooded it himself. Now, I know what you're asking yourself. What really happened to Yuri Lipski? You might be thinking, well, it's obvious, he drowned to death. However, the diving communities have different opinions on what ultimately caused Yuri Lipski's death. Many speculate that the 22-year-old met his demise due to oxygen intoxication and nitrogen narcosis, both common causes of death for divers who go too fast and too deep. Oxygen intoxication occurs when a person inhales too much supplemental oxygen, also known as oxygen poisoning. This excess oxygen damages lung tissue and fills the lungs' alveoli with fluid, making it challenging for the lungs to transport oxygen to the bloodstream. The suffocation from within the body impairs the central nervous system, resulting in symptoms such as coughing, dizziness, confusion, and blurred vision. Certainly not the best things to experience when you're several hundred feet from land and have no one else to help you. Another potential factor in Yuri Lipski's death is nitrogen narcosis. Similar to oxygen poisoning, nitrogen narcosis can impact mental functioning. Scuba divers often encounter this when breathing in compressed air from their tanks. It induces a state resembling drunkenness, affecting neuromuscular function and behavior and altering consciousness. Being drunk underwater is far from ideal, especially when you're deep in the sea. Regardless of the cause, it's evident that Yuri Lipski began losing control. He could have inflated his buoyancy control device to ascend, but his mental state might have made it challenging. It's possible that the effects of either oxygen poisoning or nitrogen narcosis were too severe for him to realize that he should inflate his BCD. Funny enough, remember when Yuri's father warned him not to do anything stupid? This has kept me thinking. Maybe what truly killed Yuri Lipski may have been overeagerness. I may be wrong, obviously, but both his father and local divers appeared to notice that Yuri Lipski was excessively enthusiastic about diving into the blue hole. His father, based on his comments, seemed to recognize that. Yuri was overconfident. Typically, technical divers bring tanks with gas mixtures to counteract the effects of nitrogen narcosis at considerable depths, like those found within the blue hole. However, Yuri only brought a single oxygen tank. Some speculate that he might have been attempting a bounce dive. According to a 2018 WorkSafe technical bulletin, a bounce dive involves a diver reaching depths shallower than 21 meters, with less than 15 minutes of surface intervals between consecutive dives. Engaging in bounce diving carries the risk of decompression sickness, an ailment that affects divers during ascent due to rapidly decreasing pressure in their surroundings. Considering the circumstances surrounding his death and the events leading up to it, the more straightforward explanation is that overconfidence and recklessness were the culprits. Enthralled by the prospect of reaching the blue hole's bottom in Dahab, Yuri descended to extreme depths too quickly and did so alone with only one oxygen tank. This happened after he'd visited the blue hole only once in the year before his tragic death. While his demise is undoubtedly sorrowful, it serves as a reminder for adventure enthusiasts like us not to overestimate our abilities when facing the powerful forces of nature. Yuri's footage is now utilized as a cautionary tale for new divers, emphasizing the perils of scuba diving. The remarkable aspect of the video is how swiftly events unfold. From the point where the water appears clear and calm, everything is seemingly fine. Just a few moments pass before the surroundings turn pitch black and alien. It's a rapid transition, leaving little time to comprehend what's happening before it's already too late. Perhaps it's for this reason that the blue hole in Dahab is so perilous. The surface conditions create an illusion of a much safer environment than it truly is. Well, as we close out this chapter on Yuri Lipski's story and the risks of the blue hole, have you ever underestimated nature's power in your own adventures? Personally, I went to a fast food joint in the middle of a raging tsunami in Eastern Asia back in the early 2000s. But go ahead and share your thoughts below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the video for more captivating stories. And just remember, the nature's mysteries are best approached with respect and caution. So stay curious, stay safe, and until next time, happy exploring.